Talk to me about microplastics. A lot of people are high in microplastics. How can we eliminate that?
Yeah. I mean, listen, plastics, the molecules are not tightly bound. They are constantly seeking to, transfer and ingress into the thing that they're in contact with. So, I would say focusing on the big things like drinking, anything you're drinking out of, can usage. I mean, they did a study once. They had for 5 days, they had one group eating soups made of fresh vegetables, and then another group eating soups with vegetables, but from a can. And on the fifth day, that second group had 1,200% more BPA in their system. The thing about BPA and phthalates, both of which are found in plastics, BPA makes plastics flexible, phthalates make plastic unshatterable, basically. They're transient chemicals. So once they're removed from your environment, your exposure, they're going to leave your body quickly. They're not like PFAS, which are forever chemicals. They're everywhere chemicals. They're everywhere. Plastics are everywhere, but they leave quickly. So you can easily detoxify these plastics. But the microplastics, it's a big deal. It really goes down to this idea of epigenetics, where we used to think with the old toxicology model that the dose makes the poison. And science has proven this wrong. It's actually flipped it and the entire thing on its head. And we now know that the tiniest amounts of chemicals are enough to turn on and off cancer genes. We used to look at rats in a lab and we're like, okay, does it affect them between 0 and 50 milligrams of exposure or 50 and 100? We saw that the highest amount of detrimental effects were actually between 0 and 1.
So, and what you're also saying is if you have some kind of illness and underlying disease and your body's trying to heal, all of these different chemicals are also blocking that process potentially.
That's exactly right. I mean, our bodies can only expend their energy doing so much. And when we are in a home that has an exterminator, or we use Raid and we have fragrances and we lay our head down at night after eating a meal that's most likely has some pesticides on it because, okay, does organic really matter? We lay our head down on a pillow full of, synthetic laundry detergent. How does our body have the energy to work on healing the deeper things, to work on turning off genetic expression? Instead, it's spending all of its energy during that night. Instead of resting, rejuvenating, restoring, detoxifying, which is what it's meant to do, it's detoxing these chemicals that it's exposed to, which is why when people go on cleanses and they do these clean sweeps, a lot of times old pains, like let's say a football injury from high school, will start actually aching because your body is actually now spending time healing the old things. And people will call and they're like, okay, we did all these things. We changed all these things because my son has some, mood disorder. So Marilee will talk with them and she'll say, okay, these fragrances, these pesticides, there are neurotoxins. They affect our mood. Let's do a clean sweep of the house. The mom calls back, I've lost 14 pounds. It's like, yeah, because these chemicals store in our fat and they're metabolic disruptors. The more that we're exposed to these things, our body is amazing. And it has this incredible ability to actually sequester toxins into fat cells. And when we have reached our limit, those fat cells will either expand or they'll duplicate. So when we get rid of toxins, we're actually, losing that weight because our body doesn't need to have those excess fat cells.